the Chicago Bulls have just made a sneaky good signing. While we're still waiting for the end results in the contract saga between Josh Giddey and the Chicago Bulls, the Bulls have announced that they have signed fan favorite guard Yuki Kawamura to a two-way contract. Hello, my name is Isaias Jackson Jr. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to Bulls Digest. We got to talk about Yuki Kawamura getting the two-way contract from the Chicago Bulls, and of course, who was waived by the Chicago Bulls in expense of Yuki Kawamura as well. However, 67.5% of you guys are not subscribed. 32.5% of you guys are. We appreciate you guys on both sides of the field. And look, we can tell you right now, we are dragging. It is Sunday. Monday is right around the corner. It's pretty much knocking, and I am terrified. The motivation getting into the week is at an absolute zero. And you know what that subscribe button is. It's a good luck charm, and it's also a motivational tool. Hit that subscribe button, like and share. And thank you guys so much, so much for tuning into Bulls Digest. Chicago Bulls sign fan favorite Yuki Kawamura. The Bulls and fan favorite guard Yuki Kawamura have agreed to a two-way contract. And even afterwards, Yuki Kawamura talked about how he does believe that he could play in the NBA. And of course, him signing this two-way contract is just a step forward just to get himself back into the NBA. Because of course, we pretty much can tell once it's all said and done with the two-way contract. Soon as summer league is over with, soon as the season starts, Yuki Kawamura is going to be lighting it up out there in Windy City in Hoffman Estates, playing for the Windy City Bulls, which is still a fun environment. We always talk about Liberty Freeman as well and the great work that Javon does over there for the Windy City Bulls. You know, and so we talked about Buzelis, seeing Buzelis fluctuate from Windy City to Chicago as well. You know, it's just fun. And also me being at the games for the Windy City Bulls. It's a fun environment. The fans are there. The fans are just as dedicated as they are in Chicago when they go to the Bulls games themselves. And so it's just a really fun environment. And the team goes crazy. Billy Donovan III makes sure that they put it all out there on the floor when it's all said and done. So just a fun team, a fun environment. Yuki Kawamura, of course, is just going to be beloved over there when it's all said and done. So, of course, the Memphis Grizzlies fans had a rather up and down season last year as Ja Morant battled injuries and the team fired head coach Taylor Jenkins right before the start of the postseason. Man, that was just a huge gut punch there. But in terms of the positives, fans grew a certain attachment to Japanese guard Yuki Kawamura, who was on the two-way contract with the team. However, Kawamura wasn't brought back by Memphis this offseason. And of course, we but we've seen it all so much on social media, the relationship between Yuki Kawamura and Ja Morant. And it was fun, you know, and of course we seen the memes, you know, the rush hour memes and things of that nature, but they fed into it, you know, like they fed into all the memes and the jokes. And, you know, you have Ja Morant pretty much giving them all the slang terms and lingo, you know, in the U.S., and they're just having fun. It looked like a genuine bond, a brotherhood. So Yuki, if you can, you know, persuade Ja Morant, you know, to come over to the Windy City at some point in time in his career, you know, if you have that charismatic conversation with Ja Morant, if you can get that persuasion on, yeah, definitely talk to Ja Morant a little bit. Well, when the time is right, you know, when it's all said and done, just in case, just leaving it out there. But of course, looking to prove his worth, Kawamura joined the Chicago Bulls on a summer league deal, looking to earn his spot in the league for next year. After his first game with the Bulls in the summer league, he shared that he just wanted to sign a contract for next year. No, it didn't matter what contract it was, just wanted to sign a contract. So it wasn't just, okay, I think I'm guaranteed a 1-year deal. You know, it kind of reminds me of how a lot of people, if we remember the rise of Jose Alvarado, when Jose Alvarado was pretty much going back and forth with Chris Paul in the offseason. We go over to next season, he's granted a 4-year deal after just seeing the electric play that he done, not only in the postseason, but of course throughout his tenure with the New Orleans Pelicans, going back and forth into their G League as well. And so you're looking at the great work that Kawamura is doing. Of course, he's electric, but he's also not really the most effective guy there on the floor. Of course, you're always going to see a behind the back pass. You know, you're going to see some electric passes from Yuki Kawamura. Are you going to see some 25, 30 point games from him? I don't necessarily think so. I think that they'll definitely come every once in a blue moon. It definitely will in the G League, but coming into the Chicago Bulls, especially with how stacked the guard room is right now for Chicago, I think it's going to be a while before we see Yuki Kawamura, and I don't think that's anything shocking to say. I definitely think that's a no-brainer there. So following his 20-point and 10-assist game against the Utah Jazz, Kawamura got what he wanted. And so just even going back, according to ESPN, Shams Charania, according to ESPN's Shams Charania, if I can repeat that, the Bulls and Kawamura have agreed to a two-way contract for next season. Kawamura posted an average of 9.6 points, 6.6 assists, and 2.2 steals across 5 Summer League games coming off the bench. So while Kawamura could have signed anywhere, he's staying put in Chicago, which I do think is going to be really, really fun to watch Yuki Kawamura. And I'm talking about just in the Windy City right now. Now, of course, when it's the tail end of the season and we start seeing guys come up from the G League and put some minutes in on the main roster, on the Chicago Bulls roster, that's when I think we're going to start to see some fun, being had. And of course, depends on what the season looks like as well. But Yuki Kawamura, he can shoot the ball. He can be effective on the offensive side. Defensively, you're not going to be asking for too much, for Yuki Kawamura, especially at being at 5'8", being one of the shortest guys in the NBA today. And so Yuki Kawamura still can be effective even at his height on the offensive side. Defensively is definitely where you start to see a little bit of problems in Yuki Kawamura's game. Of course, Kawamura will be allowed to be active in a maximum of 50 NBA games this next season due to the restrictions of a two-way contract. Even if he doesn't see the court much, Kawamura's Bulls jerseys are sure to be one of the top sellers this season. Please don't be true. That can't be true. I don't want that to be true. I don't want that to be true. I would be absolutely floored going to a Chicago Bulls game, seeing pretty much a Kawamura jersey, and not at least try to find some way online to get a Yuki Kawamura Windy City Bulls jersey. That's all you got to do. Or until he finally makes the move up, he finally see him get some minutes with the Chicago Bulls, and okay, sure. Yeah, okay. That's perfectly fine, because that is absolutely insane. It's kind of like, now, of course, this is a huge reach, but of course, you remember the huge Brian Scalabrine hype, and it's just like, brother, like, even when I seen him take off the sweatshirt, rip off the pants, hearing the crowd go crazy, I'm like, bro, we're down 25. Like, we don't need to get hype seeing Brian Scalabrine. And I'm not trying to compare Yuki Kawamura, but you could definitely see, that feel good moment. Look, I mean, we're down 20, or we're up 20, we're up 30. Yuki, it's time to slide up on in there. And, of course, we're not thinking about injury as well. Of course, injuries do play a part of this, too. Do I think Yuki Kawamura will be just insanely effective once he gets to the Chicago Bulls and once he gets on the roster coming off the bench? No. And I don't think that's going to be anything shocking. I don't think a team itself is expecting Yuki Kawamura to go in there and just with the quickness right away of just start a huge movement for even the Windy City Bulls or the Chicago Bulls in that matter. But I do think it's going to be fun to watch this man put on the Chicago Bulls jersey and, of course, play his heart out for the Chicago Bulls. I think that's going to be a whole lot of fun. And he was fun to watch in the Memphis Grizzlies jersey as well. So even going back to Shams Charania's tweet, Japanese guard Yuki Kawamura has agreed to a two-way NBA deal with the Chicago Bulls, sources tell ESPN. Bulls finalizing the deal with Kawamura's agent at Wasserman to sign the 5'8" point guard amid a strong summer league. Now, of course, as we mentioned before, look, you already have the likes of a Kobe White. You already have the likes of a Josh Giddey, who is going to be signed with the Chicago Bulls. It's just going to take a minute. My bad, I pressed the wrong button. It's just like it is going to take a minute for Yuki Kawamura to at least see some heavy minutes, or at least see just a little bit of time, in a Chicago Bulls jersey. And, of course, you still have Trey Jones, who was signed as well, Trey Jones is going to be the guy that is going to be pretty much the sixth man, the next man coming off the bench in that guard position, more specifically point guard position. So seeing Yuki Kawamura coming through with some heavy minutes, I don't think anybody is expecting that at all. But, of course, seeing him come into the court and also playing for the Chicago Bulls is definitely going to be a whole lot of fun. He definitely has fans behind him. He's fun to watch. He's entertaining. He's a funny guy. And that's just pretty much what it's coming down to. Now, of course, this comes at the expense of Jameer Young, who was just waived by the Chicago Bulls. This is even after dropping 37 in his summer league game. But even with that, you can tell he was also streaky at some points. I mean, you can even look at both of their plus minuses. Even Yuki Kawamura off the bench with Jameer Young starting as well. Both guys as terms of looking at their plus minuses, they're still looking at a -10 with, of course, Yuki Kawamura shooting 1 for 5, at least in the beginning parts of the game, at least in the first game against the Toronto Raptors. Of course, following that up, shooting 4 for 8. Jameer Young, of course, shooting you 1 for 6 with 10 points, giving you 7 points in the game. Just really, really streaky, while also putting up a decent amount of assists, giving you 6 assists, 7 assists. Same with Yuki Kawamura. Both can pass the ball really well. So I do think that you could go either way, but the Chicago Bulls have seen the way Jameer Young has played with the Windy City Bulls. I believe he averaged 22 points per game with the Windy City Bulls last season. So at least the offensive prowess is there. Just didn't see it too much until the tail end of this summer league, season with the Chicago Bulls. Talk about Jameer Young. So are the Chicago Bulls hurting by getting rid of waiving Jameer Young and bringing in Yuki Kawamura for a two-way contract? No, not at all. But I do think this is a really good signing. I can't wait to see how this goes for Yuki Kawamura and the Chicago Bulls. But what do you think? Do you think that this was a waste of a signing for the Chicago Bulls, or are you ecstatic with Yuki Kawamura making his way and signing a two-way contract deal with the Chicago Bulls? Leave your comments down below, and thank you guys so much for tuning in. I'll see you guys next time.